Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of 3D Prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode, we took care of our arc shot, our hero shot, and it was the first of our dynamic cinematic shots. In today's episode, I'd like to take a look at creating ourselves an intro animation or an introduction cinematic, something like that. All right, it's going to be broken up into several different episodes, but let's get started. Okay, guys, so in today's episode, I'd like to take a step back from Unity just for a few minutes here and take a look at a 3D package. My 3D package of choice is Maya. And what I want to discuss today is exporting exporting a camera from a 3D package into Unity. They don't go directly, so I'd like to take a look at that today. So in today's episode, I know some of you don't have Maya out there, and that's perfectly fine. We're going to take a look at ways of creating the cinematic with a 3D package like this, or if we don't have it, it doesn't really matter. We can go through and create it simply in Unity, which is where we're going to be creating our cinematic anyway. Today, what I'd like to take a look at is Maya. If you don't have the same version of Maya as me, that's perfectly fine. I think we're currently at Maya 2017. If you're a student, you can download it for up to 3 years, and if you're not, you can still get a 30-day trial. So consider that if you want to take a look at actually a 3D package. Anyway, and I'm using an older version of Maya right here. At school, we're using 2016 and 2017. On my computer, I have 2015. So we've got a bunch of different types of Mayas here, but don't worry about it. Everything should be very, very similar regardless of which package you're on. What I want to take a look at here is this basic scene that I've got set up. I've got a simple floor and a cube for reference sake, and I've got myself, there we go. A floor and a cube for reference sake, and I've got myself a simple curve here that we'll be using a little bit later on. What I want to take a look at right now is actually the several different types of cameras that are available in Maya. Okay, and that's what we're going to be doing: animating a camera and then exporting it into Unity. So for now, if you want to create a brand new camera, you can simply say create, go down to cameras, and find your different types of cameras. Here we've got 3 choices. We have camera, camera aim, and camera aim and up. All right. To start off with, if we just simply build a basic camera, boom, there it is. It's actually inside my cube. Let's move it out. If we take a look at our basic camera, the basic camera itself has all the standard functionality that we have in any other object that you build within Maya. It's got itself a name here. Let's just call this to stand alone so we can identify it. Standalone camera. Standalone cam. All right, my standalone camera there, it's got our traditional information within our channel box, our translate, our rotate, and our scale. All right, the scale doesn't do anything to the view itself. It'll actually make the actual gizmo here a little bit larger, but other than that, it doesn't really do anything. The translation, the rotation, of course, can be animated just like you'd animate anything else within Maya. All right, if I want, let's say I want to make a shot where I'm panning across this cube here. I'm just going to move it back a little bit. And you know, let's take a look at this right away, actually. If I want to see exactly what this camera is looking at, I can select the camera itself, and I can say panels, and I can say look through selected. And what it's going to do is give me the view through that camera. Okay? And what's interesting about this is I could move it around like I move around any other camera within Maya. So let's say I just wanted to make a shot where I kind of pan from right to left across this cube. I can set up the camera where I like it for my first thing. I can go into view, select camera to make sure that my camera is selected. It already was, and I can say set. And when I do, you can see that right away I'm already setting a keyframe here. All right, and let's say I scroll across and I want this shot to last 1 second. I'll scroll across like this, and I want to do exactly like this. And I'm just going to add in another keyframe right here, and I'm just going to say set once again. Now, if I go back to my perspective view, we can see my camera, and we can see that it has been animated appropriately. Okay, and in this situation here, I would have to go through and aim my camera appropriately. I'd have to go through and, as I animate my camera, make sure that it's set up the way I like it. All right, but this type of camera is very, very easy to use for simplistic, basic shots. Okay. The next kind of camera we're going to look at, up here we're going to say create, and we're going to create a camera, and we're going to create a camera and an aim. All right, and when I do so, we're going to see a couple of things here. If I grab my outliner, boom. When I created the camera itself, all that came up initially was the standalone camera. That's when I created the initial camera. When I created the camera and the aim, it created this group. All right, I've got camera 1 group, camera 1, and camera aim inside of it. Now, I'm going to change the name of this camera group right away. Let's change it to group cam aim, just so we know what it is. And we'll actually change this to camera aim. cam, oops, cam, aim. Okay, so we've created this hierarchy where we've got ourselves our camera group, we've got ourselves a camera, and we've got ourselves our camera aim. Let's take a look at those in here. I've got my camera group selected currently. I'm just going to drag it over so we can see it, and I'll drag it up so we can see it. All right, and this is what it looks like. And basically the way this works, we have two animatable objects within this camera. We've got ourselves this aim, which I can move up and down, and you can see that my camera always points at the aim. So let's say I wanted to aim at the top of this box, let's say. All right, and the camera itself, which I can select separately, and I can move it about. And you can see that as I animate this, the aim itself will stay associated to that aim right there. Okay, it always stays associated with that aim. So let's say that I again wanted to create a simple shot where I moved my camera across the screen, always looking at the top of this box. Let's say I went right through here. I can say panels. Once again, look through selected, and I'll look at the actual object itself. Okay, so that's fine. Let me just animate it from this side right now. On frame 1, I'm gonna set my select my camera, and I'm going to set my my actual keyframe right here in this location. All right, I can animate this separately if I want to change. If I want to change the aim, oops, I grabbed too much there. If I want to change the aim, I can animate this object completely separately. So I can change the aim of where my camera is looking as well. All right, for now, I'm just going to animate this guy. All right, so there's my first thing. Boop, all the way across to frame 24, and I'm just going to simply move this across like this, and I'm going to set a brand new frame. And you can see, if I do panels, look through selected, we can see as we scroll across that we are getting this kind of I keep saying panning, but it's not. We keep getting we got this dolly shot that's gone all the way across. All right, so I've dollied across. Well, actually, this is a dolly and a pan, because I physically moved the camera, and the camera is panning with the shot as well. All right, so there we go. We've got ourselves a dolly shot right there, dolly and pan shot, and our original camera. If I get out of here again, boop, I get out of here and I take a look at my original camera. Right here. My original camera is simply a tracking shot where we tracked all the way across the actual object. All right. Now, like I said, if we wanted to, once again we take a look at this, if we wanted to, we could animate the aim as well as the actual shot, as well as the actual camera. So let me select the aim here. Let me just grab it over here. Let me select the aim, and I'm going to set it up right here to begin with. All right. I'm going to set it here, and across 24, instead of just aiming at that particular point, I'm going to allow this to track across like this as well, and I'm going to set this. All right, so now we've got ourselves our camera dollying along, all right, as well as panning with the actual aim, but the aim itself has been moved as well. Okay, so this camera gives you a few more options. It allows you to take into account a few other things, all right? For example, where the camera's aiming, you don't have to worry about constantly changing the rotation of the camera. If I wanted to do the exact same thing with this standalone camera, I'd have to go through and constantly adjust my rotation as well, hoping to keep this thing in view. All right, and that's not really what you want to do. If you've got a shot like this that you're trying to create, you really want to do it with the camera aim. Okay, and if we just go panels, look through selected again, we're going to be able to see that we are now going across. That's a pretty nice shot. All right, great. The last type of camera is going to be the camera and aim and up. You create it in exactly the same way that you create the other camera. So if we go to create and we go to cameras, we've got ourselves the camera, aim, and up. Now let's take a look over here. We have created now, once again, this camera group. We've got ourselves a camera group, which encompasses the camera, which we'll rename right away to, let's call this cam, aim, up, just so we're not getting them all confused. And we'll call this thing here GRP, cam, aim, up. We don't want to get confused. All right, so we've got these guys in here. Now let's take a look at this actual camera with the group selected. Let me move this out of the way again. With the group selected, let's move this up and out of the way. Now the difference between this camera and the one we just created, once again, it works very similarly. I've got myself this aim, which I can move about, and my camera will continuously aim at that actual location. All right, so it works exactly like the camera aim and the camera up. Exactly like the camera and aim. In this situation with the camera up, though, we've got this additional animatable point, and we can use it to allow ourselves to rotate the actual camera as well. We will continue to point at that location, but the camera now is going to go through this type of motion. You can see that kind of flying motion it's got like that, where it'll always aim at this point. The up of the camera will always aim at that point. Again, fully animatable. Fully animatable. Okay, and there's a number of things that you may want to do with this. All right, it's going to give this strange rotation. If you don't aim this in exactly the same way, if you don't move this along in exactly the same way, it's going to give you this weird shot. Like if we try and do exactly the same thing we did with the camera and aim, let me just dump this over here. Let's put this over here in the box. Let's just put it over here somewhere. Doesn't really matter where I put it. I don't want being so precise. And let's move our camera over here. All right. I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. All right. Let's put this over here. And if we wanted to recreate the same kind of shot that we had with that camera aiming up, sorry, with that camera aim, we'd have to make sure that we took into account this upwards vector as well. Okay. So once again, if I'm just going to grab this thing here, I'm going to set a keyframe here. I'm going to scroll across, and let me just drag this over. Right, way over here, and I'm going to set this as well. If we take a look now, obviously that thing is moving along and it's rotating along with it. Panels, look through selected. We're going to get this kind of weird looking shot, all right, where the camera itself rotates. Now we have a couple of options if we actually wanted to reduce the amount of rotation we're getting in here. If we really wanted to, what we could do, let me get out of here. Let me go back to my original perspective. Let me just delete off of this camera the keys. So I'm just going to remove these. Edit, delete. Delete. All right, there we go. So I no longer have those. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right over top my camera so we are precisely where we're supposed to be. Let's say that's good enough. That's good enough. All right. We're precisely where we want to be. What I could do if I wanted to reduce the amount of rotation I actually had in there, I could go through, select both my aim as well as my camera, and I could edit group these guys together. Edit group. And when I do, I'm going to create a brand new group. Okay. And let me just rename it to GRP cam and aim. All right, and right now our pivot point is way over here. We don't want that. Let's go modify and let's put our pivot point. We're gonna center it. Center pivot point. Center pivot point. Let's just center it in this location. Okay, and now what I can do, instead of actually moving my camera and my actual aim separately, I could animate, if I want to, this overall group. So once again, I've got my group starting off right here. I could set my keyframe here, and at 24, I could drag this thing way over here like this. All right, I could set my keyframe. So you can see, once again, I'm getting my camera moving. Now, within that group, if I really wanted to, I could go in here, I could grab my aim separately, I could set my aim in one location, and over here, I could set my aim slightly different. So I'm getting a slight rotation, let's say. Let's say this is what I wanted. Now look what's happens. Right now, I've got that camera moving with the group, I have the aim moving with the group, and the animation within the aim itself is also, let's do it like this, so we kind of get this rocking motion. The aim itself is also being animated. All right, so if we take a look by selecting the camera once again and saying panels, look through selected, and we scrub this, we can see we're kind of getting that rocking motion there as well. All right, so there are ways to better control this camera if you don't want to constantly move this. However, you might want to have this thing here moving freely. All right, this actual aim point moving freely. Okay, now let's say we actually wanted to export our camera. Now, one of the big problems we've got is our cameras don't export directly. We have to take a few steps in order to be able to export our camera into a package. All right, and we'll take a look at those right now. Okay, guys, so let's say we've decided on a couple of shots here. We've got ourselves, I kept the actual standalone basic camera as well as this camera aim. However we export this, it's done for exactly the same way regardless of what kind of camera you're actually using. So that's the whole point. The whole point of being here in Maya is to create a camera that we can export into Unity. If we take a look at this camera, we've got our basic information that we animated up here about our actual translation, our rotations, what we're really interested in. There's a bunch of other great information down here. The focal length, the f-stop, focal, everything's down here. The problem is, with basic Maya tools and basic Unity tools, there's no one-to-one correlation for the information we've got stored in here and the actual Unity information as well, Unity camera information. So there are plugins or different programs that you might be able to use that could go in and capture this information and convert it into something that's usable. But in this situation, when what we're doing here, we're not going to use any of those today. We're just going to export the basic camera. Okay, to do so, it's very straightforward, and you've already done this once, so it's pretty easy to do. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna create myself a polygon primitive, a cube, let's say, and I'm gonna rename this cube to shot one. All right, this will be shot one, and let's say that shot one is actually this camera and aim. Okay, so there's my cube. What I want to do, I want to select my camera, the actual camera for my camera name. I actually want to select the camera, the animated object, and I want to select the cube itself. And I'm going to go up to constrain, and I'm going to point constrain it. I'm going to go to the little options and make sure maintain offset is turned off, and I'm going to add it so my my actual cube jumps onto my camera. I'm going to go constrain. I'm going to say orient, and I'm going to make sure that maintain offset is turned off. All right, I'm going to add it, and we can see now that my camera itself and my cube and my camera are now aligned as long as the position, as far as the rotation are concerned. All right, and if I scrub along here, my cube stays attached to my camera regardless. Okay, so that's great. Let's say I like that. What I can do, I can select my cube right now, and I want to take the information off of the camera itself, and I want to put it on the cube. Okay, to do so, I can select my cube, I can say edit, I can say keys, and I can say bake simulation. All right, and when I do, boom, immediately I get all of these keyframes all along here for the actual movement of the cube as well. And if I wanted to right now, I can simply delete. Let me just get rid of my camera. I'll just delete my camera. Where is it here? Here, bang. I'll delete my camera. And my cube itself is still moving in exactly the same way that the camera itself was moving. Okay, it's already taken into account the aim and everything else. It's all associated with the camera now, and has all been baked onto this actual cube. Now, in exactly the same way that I exported my character when it had animation on it, I'm simply going to take this thing here. It's all been baked in place. I've got it selected. I can simply say edit, and I can say export selection. File, export selection. And when I do, I'm going to make sure that I export as an FBX. All right, and when I export as an FBX, I can simply bring that directly into Unity, and it's going to have all of the information we want. All right, so we'll take a look at that afterwards. A couple other things I want to take a look at right now, and that is using different path animation as well in our cameras to create really nice shots. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, guys, the last thing I want to do in this episode before we go over to Unity and I just show you that this works is I want to create motion path. Now, I want to create a motion path that's going to affect our actual camera. And what we've got here, we've got a simple curve, all right? And let's say that I built this curve, and that's the actual the way I want my camera to actually move. All right, I want my camera to follow along this actual path here. That's the whole point, is creating this camera shot. That's going to be like this. Okay, this camera. I've got it all set up like this along this path. We're not actually discussing cinematography theory here, why we want to build certain types of shots. Like why we build this tracking shot, or why we build this kind of circular shot. We're not discussing anything like that in here. We're really just discussing in this series the technical side of cinematography. So if you guys are here looking for, I don't know if anyone is, but if you guys are here looking for why we set up certain kinds of shots, I'm not actually covering that kind of stuff in these videos. All right, just so you know. If you're up this point, you probably know that already. But anyway, just so you know. So for now, what I want to do, guys, let's just do this. We'll say create, and we'll create ourselves a camera again. We'll create the camera aiming up, and let's just move it over like this for now. All right. Let's say that we want to have our camera. Let's put our aim somewhere right about here. All right. Let's say that we want to start off our shot. We want to start off the shot with the actual aim right here. We want to be aiming at the bottom of the box, and we slowly want to. Let me move this up a little tiny bit. We slowly want our camera to move along this path and eventually be aiming at the top of this box. So I'm going to set up with my aim selected. I'm going to set a key right here, and let's say after 24 frames out of a 48 frame shot, I want my aim to be right here. All right, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So we've got ourselves the motion of our actual aim point, and you can see how it's affecting our camera. And the reason why I did this is I really want to show you something that's important here. If you're using one of these types of cameras, either the camera aim or the camera aim and up, if we take a look at the camera itself, it's got a constraint that is maintaining that aim location in front of the camera at all times. All right, it's an aim constraint, so the camera is always aiming at that particular point. The fact fact that we have constraints on here means we can't simply attach this camera to this path, because then we'd have the path trying to aim the camera, and we'd have the actual aim point, this aim constraint also trying to aim the camera, and those two won't work together. Okay, if you were simply going to add this camera to our path, we wouldn't have to worry about doing what I'm about to do. But because we actually already have constraints on our camera, we have to do something a little bit special. What I want to do, I'm going to click off here for a second, and I'm going to create a brand new group. So I'm going to say edit, and I'm going to say group. And what I do is going to create a null at the origin. And I'm simply going to change this to group cam2, I'll call it. All right, group cam2. And if we take a look right now at my outliner, I've got my camera group. This is the one we just created with my camera and my aim in it. And I've got this thing here called group cam2. What I want to do, I want to grab. Actually, first of all, the thing I want to do is I want to grab my camera, and I want to grab my cam2. I don't actually have to do it in this order, but I'm going to. It's actually not necessary at all. What I'm simply going to do is I'm going to grab my camera, I'm going to move it out, and I'm going to dump it into the cam2 location. Okay, and what I do, we've got ourselves our camera now set up in a particular location. If we take a look here, it's at 6.34, and our actual cam2 is set to 000. What I want to do is set my camera to 000 as well, and that's going to cause my camera to jump over into this location. Okay, so right now my cam2 and my camera match up perfectly, and that's great. What I want to do now is I want to set up my group, the group that I created, so that it is on this curve and it's going to maintain this shot the entire time. Okay, really, really easy to do. I'm going to go in and I'm going to once again, let me open this up again. I'm going to grab my cam2. I'm going to right click, shift click, excuse me, and grab my actual camera path. Okay, and afterwards I'm going to go to animate, and I'm going to scroll down to motion path, and I've got a couple of options in here. The one I'm interested in is attach to motion path. Now watch what happens when I do this. Boom! All right, my camera goes over and it actually connects to that actual motion path. And the way I set it up, if you looked at the options, we didn't, but if you actually looked at the options for your motion path, for example, you have a couple different options. Time slider, start, end. I had it set to time slider, so my entire shot is going to take the entire time slider to complete. All right, so it starts at frame 1. If we take a look right down here, there's a little green number 1 right there. Starts at frame 1 and goes all the way to frame 48. Okay, and if I scrub this once again, if I hit this play, it's going to move all the way along, giving us a shot. If I say panels, and let's actually stop this for a second, and I grab my actual camera, and I say panels, look through selected like we were doing before, and I go back to number 1 right here, and I hit play, we can see that we've got our entire shot on there. It's not the prettiest shot, but it's just about showing you how to do it. All right, and once again, with that completed, we can simply make ourselves a cube. We can attach the cube to our camera, and we can export that shot. All right, so if I say edit, and if I say create, and I create myself a brand new cube, and I attach that cube directly to my camera. So I'm going to select my camera, select my cube, and I'm going to say constrain point and constrain orient. You can see that my cube is moving along with my camera just like the other one did, and I'm going to go back here. I'm going to select my actual cube. All right, everything is being aimed appropriately. All right, and I'm simply going to say edit keys and bake simulation. Boom, and there we go. We've got ourselves a baked simulation. Once again, our cube is now pointing and moving exactly the way it should. Okay, great. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to export all this stuff the same way I showed you. I'm going to export it into Unity, open up Unity, and I'll show you that everything's working. All right, I'll export the entire level as well, this whole thing. All right, guys, let's go over to Unity and take a look. All right, guys, here we are in Unity. I just want to show you that this actually works, how simple it is to make it work. What we've got here is we've got ourselves the two cubes, all right? Let's go take a look at our models here. I imported shot 1 and I called our second shot shot 2. They were both exported as FBXs, so they came in with their animation, all right? And in this case here, I didn't rename the animation or anything like that. It's simply called take 1 in both situations, okay? For both of these for both of these actual FBXs, I went in and I created myself the animator, and I simply dragged my take 1 in place. all right, in both situations. So I've got both of these shots set up. If we actually take a look at the scene right now, we've got two cubes. Here's the first one, and here's the second one. And currently, I set up my actual main camera to be attached to the shot that we first did, where it just simply went across the cube. All right, I put my camera in place. I made sure it was pointed in the right direction, so I rotated 180 degrees because it's pointing out backwards. And if I hit play now, if we take a look at the camera preview, or even down here, we're going to see that the actual shot for the camera is all in there. Okay, there is our actual first shot. Okay, and it looks slightly different. The reason why it looks slightly different is because, as I mentioned, we don't actually bring in all of the information that's required. Our field of view, if we wanted to make it a little tighter or a little smaller to match, all right, we have to go in and play with our field of view to get that matching shot. Otherwise, we come in with our default, whatever our default camera was set at. I think it's set at 60, right? Yeah. We come in with our default camera. You might have to adjust the field of view and your clipping planes in order to get your shot in place, but otherwise the animation itself is all available on here. Okay, so that was our first shot. I've got it set up to loop. There's our first shot. Down here we can see it. If we take a look, if I just grab my actual main camera and I drag it onto shot number 2, and let's just zero this thing out. So let's just reset it so it's at 0. Go to 0, 0. All right, we actually put our camera at 0, 0, 0. It's located here. You can see it's pointed the wrong way, so I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees so it's pointed in the proper direction. And if I hit play now, watch our previews. All right, exactly the same way our information has all been maintained. Okay, you may have to adjust, like I said, the field of view to get a tighter shot or a wider shot or whatever it is you're trying to do to match those Unity values, but sorry, those Maya values. But we've got our animation for our camera all in Unity now. Okay, guys. So in the next video, what we're going to take a look at is, regardless of how you get your animation in place, or if you want any animation at all, we're going to take a look at how to create ourselves a simple cinematic introduction. Okay, guys? I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know. If you have any questions at all, please let me know down in the comments. I do my best to stay in touch with you guys and answer your questions to the best of my abilities. I really like your feedback, all right? And I really like to hear what you guys are doing as well. Anyway, I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below. And if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.